Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Deep Six Podcast, coming to you from somewhere just outside of Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Steven Spivak, joined once again by Mr. Matt Barnes. Matt, how you doing tonight?
Hi, I'm great, but I'm not in Orlando, so we're definitely not brought to you from Orlando, Florida.
So let me revise. Orlando, Florida, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, it's as good as it's going to get right now. So here we are. This is going to be part 2 of our San Diego Comic-Con discussion. Of course, this past Sunday we released part 1, where we discussed Thursday and Friday of Comic-Con. Today is part 2, where we're going to discuss mostly Saturday, maybe a thing or two from Sunday.
Think of it like, like Avengers, like Infinity War, like part 1, part 2, like that gag that they're doing, but with, talking about shitty, stupid stuff.
Pretty much. So, I guess now's as good a time as any to get started into the actual meat and bones of the discussion. The first thing I got on our list here is about Riverdale Season 2. Of course, a trailer was released. And
I sent it to you, fool.
You did?
Yeah, I did. You never answered me, but I did send it to you.
I don't know that I ever saw that you sent it to me. Well, I got it in front of me now. So Season 2, of course, based off of the Archie Comics show. And I guess we should just discuss what happened in the trailer. It basically starts off with Fred Andrews getting shot, but we don't know by who. That becomes the whole mystery of who shot Fred Andrews.
I'll say before we started launch into this, let's not make this like a Doctor Strange preview discussion where we talk about it for 20 minutes, even though it was 11 minutes of footage. Let's make this more like, hey, this looks really good, or blah, 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 blah.
I had no plans of going much further. No, I had no plans of going much further, but that's the whole premise of the trailer is who shot Fred Andrews.
Look, if you've watched Riverdale, which you should be watching Riverdale, but if you've watched Riverdale, you know that was the big thing that happens at the end of the first season. Fred gets shot. I don't even give a shit if that's a spoiler. It's a spoiler. I don't care. You should have been watching the show. Fuck you. I think the most interesting thing about this preview is that I think you get the intense feeling that he survives, which I didn't necessarily see coming at the end of the first season.
I mean, I personally didn't finish out the season. I must have forgot about it. But
you're for one. I don't even want to launch into it. I'll talk to you about it later. But how could you not finish the season?
I think just with the whole plethora of things I had going on, I just forgot to watch the last 2 episodes.
I guess that's something that people do.
But Season 2 is going to be, I believe, 22 episodes, which the first season was quite a long one too, right? It was also 22?
No, the first season of Riverdale was 13 episodes.
Was it only 13? Okay, well then...
Yes.
Forgive me. And it looks like it's also going to be on a new night. It'll premiere Wednesday, October 11th at 8 o'clock on the CW. So yeah, Riverdale Season 2.
Using it with that change as a lead into Arrow, which is, I don't know what to really make of that. Because people were watching it anyway, so it didn't really need to be used as a hook, watch this show on this night. I don't think they really had to do that. They could have just left it where it was. Kind of makes me feel like they need to give a boost to Arrow because Arrow is going into its 6th season. I feel like that's what I'm reading into that.
Yeah, I think that's probably what I would get from it too.
Yeah, use the hot new show to boost the ratings of another show that's going to, they're already over 100 episodes on Arrow. They're going to use, the heat from Riverdale to boost it, which is not necessarily a bad idea.
No, it isn't. I mean, it's the hottest thing they've probably got on the network right now, I would say, arguably. So I don't see why you wouldn't use it to revitalize a show that's not doing too great ratings-wise.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't, again, I'm not really into the ratings discussion because I don't watch TV traditionally. I mean, I don't think many of us do. So I'm not really sure what the ratings are or aren't on most of these programs. I do think there's a quality difference with Arrow as they move into some of these seasons now. Whereas, it's been eclipsed by like The Flash and it's been eclipsed by Legends of Tomorrow. And now they have Supergirl and they have Riverdale and they're doing Black Lightning next season. The quality of Arrow feels displaced compared to the other shows that it helped launch. So I don't know, maybe if there is a ratings issue, that might be part of it. The quality just isn't necessarily there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that all makes sense. But not to dwell too much on Arrow there, but in other TV news, if you want to call it TV news, we got a Stranger Things season 2 trailer as well this past Saturday.
Yeah.
I know when it dropped, you didn't seem too impressed.
Well, I mean, I didn't like the first season, so I'm not really sure what I was supposed to. Look, I think if you watch that trailer and you were already into this show based on the first season, okay, it gave you more of the same. If you didn't like the first season of the show and you thought it was really boring and you fucking watched Winona Ryder look at a fucking wall for 3 episodes, and you're like, okay, like this is a show. The preview for season 2 probably didn't do much for you, which is kind of where I'm sitting. That the whole reason I would even watch season 2 at this point is that Paul Reiser's in season 2 and he's going to be playing. It seems like the Matthew Modine role from season 1. That's a hook that would get me into it, but they didn't even put him in the trailer.
Well, this is really the first footage we've got, so I mean they might be attempting to do slow reveals. This just kind of seemed like a sizzle reel of things. Personally, I'm excited for season 2, but I have this underlying doubt that it's going to be overdone because I feel like they kind of caught lightning in a bottle with the first season, and now that it seems like this is probably the hottest franchise in, I guess you could say, in all of TV right now. It feels like it's going to be, I don't want to say a too many cooks situation, but it feels like there's going to be a lot of pandering and a lot of things to kind of sour it.
I don't know. I'm surprised to hear you say that because you and our former co-host Dan Spivak, you guys went fucking ape shit for the first season. So I'm surprised to hear you say that.
I think, and don't get me wrong, I love the first season. I just feel like it was one of those things that was really creator held. The creators had a lot of control over it, and I think now with the second season, it's going to be kind of rehashing things from the first season, just in a different way. And Netflix probably wanted certain things done, and now everybody wants to have kind of a part in it. So I feel like there might be a little bit more product placement in it, and things are just gonna feel unnatural. I get that feeling.
I mean, we'll see. There's only so much product placement and things of that nature that you can do with a show that's primarily set in what Ghostbusters is just coming out for season 2 on the show.
Yeah,
so it's set in what, 94?
Yeah, 84.
So it's how much product placement can you do with that show? You're gonna talk about fucking Roy Rogers? You can't go to fucking Roy Rogers unless you're driving on the fucking Pennsylvania Turnpike.
I mean, we of course got the product placement in season 1 with Kellogg's and Eggos, and that kind of I don't want to say revitalize that brand, but
it didn't feel like product placement though, because it felt natural to what they were doing on the show.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I didn't have a problem with that in the first season, but I feel like if we get another weird situation like that, where like if Pepsi becomes like a major player in the show or some shit like that, it's going to be, I don't know. I just this underlying doubt that something's going to happen in this season that's just going to be either super pandery or it's going to just feel really unnatural and overdone.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, for me, it was already unnatural and overdone. So you're right there with me now.
But, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. And I mean, I'm sure you'll probably watch it, even if you're not super excited about it.
I mean, like I said during our Stranger Things review episode that we did many, many months ago, it'll be one of those shows where if I have a day where I'm not really doing anything, then I'll pick it up and I'll take a watch. But I don't know. We'll certainly see. It feels like another one of those Netflix shows where I might watch one or two episodes and I'll be like, wow, this isn't really catching my attention. And I just don't finish watching it, which I've done a lot lately. I don't know why, but Netflix shows lately just haven't been catching for me.
Yeah, that I would say the same thing. We both, of course, talked about Glow in the episode we did last week. And we both discussed how that felt like that could have been more. But aside from that,
I mean, definitely the converse, where Glow is one of those shows where I wanted to see more of, and I think some of the Netflix shows now, they feel very overblown. I don't really want to watch them because they don't hook me right away.
I can't really think of any other Netflix shows that I've watched recently. But I feel like that's another discussion for another episode. To wrap things back around to the Comic-Con discussion, though, we'll move on. I guess we'll start into the movie news now. The first thing I got here movie-related is that we got some... I don't want to call it a trailer. I guess I'll call it a teaser. We got some footage for Ready Player One from Steven Spielberg. And I was... way more interested in, or I became way more interested in what this film is going to be after seeing this teaser than I had been before when I heard it was announced that it was going to be adapted to a film.
Well, I think if you didn't read the book, why would you be overly excited about the movie? Because you have no fucking clue what it's about until a trailer releases.
I mean, I was really skeptical with how well it would be portrayed more than anything, and how much they were willing to do with it compared to the book.
I don't know. I've never read the book, so I don't really know what I'm looking at, to be honest with you. But what I saw in footage that they released, the trailer, it looked really good to me, to the point that I kind of want to go and buy the book and read it now just to see what it's all about before the movie comes out.
I personally have not read the book, but I know people who have and people who have talked it up. And it definitely seemed like it was very well received. But this footage is riddled with pop culture references. The article I have here, just to list off a few notes: Akira, Iron Giant, Back to the Future, Nightmare on Elm Street. I know I saw Harley Quinn in there. I believe I saw Deadshot in there.
If you follow the horror community at all, it was the Jackie Earle Haley Freddy Krueger that appears, not the Robert Englund version.
It was loaded with stuff.
Reboot, if you don't know what I'm talking about.
No, I'm aware of what you're speaking of.
I was speaking to our audience, Stephen.
Well, then speak away to the audience. But I was really impressed with it. It looked really good. It looks really interesting. I mean, you put the Iron Giant in something, you're gonna pop me.
Yeah, apparently you and almost all the internet, and I didn't really get it because I've never seen Iron Giant.
Iron Giant is just one of those things from my childhood that I fondly remember.
I've never... Also, Steve, not to break the action real quick, but Deep Six weather update. It is monsooning right now in Philadelphia.
Wow, that's strange because it looked like it was going to monsoon here, and it didn't do crap today. Which is surprising because it's been raining really bad here the past few days. Anyway, but yeah, I look forward to seeing more from Ready Player One, and yeah, you're probably going to be excited to see more from it too, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean it's certainly within my wheelhouse. But again, like I said, I really want to go out and I want to buy the book now and read the book, so I kind of know. I think what the trailer did for me, it made me more interested in knowing what this story is about, like now, not waiting till the movie comes out. So I just want to go buy the book and read it.
Well, real quick, let me. I guess I'll give you a quick synopsis to the listeners who may not be familiar with it. It's about a character, or I don't know if it's necessarily about a single character, but they focus on a single character within this teaser. I think the year is 2045, and they've basically made it look like everybody's living on top of each other in, basically, it kind of looks like a slum. But everyone is basically enthralled with this virtual reality thing because there's no real exploration to be had, I guess, is how you could say it in the real world. So everybody goes into basically this virtual reality avatar world where they can be whatever they want and do whatever they want and explore an adventure and, endless possibilities. And of course, people pick up these avatars of these, pop culture icons like we've mentioned, and it just looks like a crazy, crazy, crazy film. And I feel like this is one that when you go and see it in 3D, probably going to just add that extra layer of what's the word I'm looking for? It's just going to add that extra level to it. So yeah. Let's let's move on then. Next, I've got here that we got on the list. It says how we've got a Flashpoint movie coming, but I'm going to use this point to also discuss basically the entire upcoming slate of DCEU films. So obviously,
I know this would be a rough conversation for you.
I mean, I'm intrigued. I don't know that I'm necessarily.
Property's my favorite thing. You could admit that. You're a hater.
I mean, I don't know that I necessarily care too much, but I'm intrigued with some of the films that they've announced.
A hater.
Anyway, okay, so at the Warner Brothers panel at Comic-Con, DC's slate was announced as Suicide Squad 2, the Batman movie, Shazam, Justice League Dark, Flashpoint, Wonder Woman 2, Green Lantern Corps, and Batgirl. I am excited for 3 of those movies, actually, but I'm not holding my breath for any of them. Because
did you say Green Lantern Corps?
That's what I have in front of me. That's what it says.
He is silent in that word. It's Green Lantern Corps.
Whatever. Forgive me. We all know that my strong point is not pronunciation, okay?
It's really not linguistics.
Nope, I'm not an English major. Anyway, so I'm excited for Green Lantern. I'm excited for Batgirl. And I'm excited for Flashpoint. The rest I'm kind of just like, eh.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have some thoughts on the list. I'm a giant Green Lantern fan, so I'm very, very excited for Green Lantern Corps.
Fuck you.
Batgirl, I don't know. I have I don't know. I guess that Joss Whedon is doing the Batgirl movie, and he did all the the rewrites and the reshoots for Justice League. So he's already ingrained into the universe at this point. I think the thing with Joss Whedon, on the surface he looks like a great choice for directing a female empowerment type role where the girl kicks ass in the movie. On the surface he looks like he'd be perfect for that. But I feel like his bag of tricks have been kind of overplayed again and again and again. Where going back to Buffy, his stuff that he does it never changes. You're going to see a Batgirl movie that feels like it could have just been a Buffy movie, and that's my big worry. The other thing they kind of announced, sort of as an aside for the Batgirl movie, was that Robin will be a part of the Batgirl movie. So I'm just not sure where I go with that at this point. It feels like a lot of these solo movies that they're doing in the DC universe are kind of detached from the universe. They're part of the universe, but they're not part of the universe.
Yeah, I can see that.
It just feels very weird. I don't know how you do a Batgirl movie or a Nightwing movie, because Nightwing is announced, even if it's not on this slate, they still have announced this movie. How do you do a Batgirl movie or a Nightwing movie without having, the history of Batman in this universe fully established yet. I don't think you can, unless this Batgirl movie is like, you know, a throwback movie where you're seeing what happened to her before, you know, the Joker shoots her. So, I mean, it could work in that way.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what iteration of Batgirl they go with, because I think for a while it's been speculated that they could be going with the more recent comic version of Batgirl rather than a more traditional Batgirl. And honestly, if I were making the creative decisions over at DC and Warner Brothers, I would go with a newer representation of Batgirl, especially considering how received that particular iteration of the character was. But it's also, like you said, it's going to be weird having these characters that are basically spin-offs of Batman without really having Batman fully, enthralled in this universe already.
Right, and that's my big question mark for Batgirl. I don't know. I mean, I have other questions about individual movies, but since you brought up Batgirl first, I thought I would start there.
It's also interesting to note that I don't know if the order I gave the list is the order in which we'll see these movies.
It feels like they very much delivered that list to us in order of what they're producing. If we read between the lines, because we know that, you know, they're filming Aquaman now. That's not on the list. The next thing they're supposed to start filming is Shazam. That was first on the list.
Well, on my list, that's actually third. So
Suicide Squad 2. Well, I don't know what your list says.
Yeah, I'm reading the list directly from Screen Rant. It goes Suicide Squad 2, Batman, Shazam, Justice League Dark, Flashpoint, Wonder Woman 2, Green Lantern, and Batgirl. That's
a different list than originally came out. Because originally the list that came out was Shazam 2. Or Shazam, rather. Regardless, the next two movies they're supposed to be producing are Shazam and Suicide Squad 2. That's been released by the studio, that those are the next two movies they want to shoot.
I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't be. But it'll be interesting to see in the order that these movies get released, because we all know about the Ben Affleck rumor at this point that they're going to try and phase him out as Batman. And I heard that a lot of people are skeptical now with Flashpoint being the Flash movie, that could be where we see a new Batman introduced, because a Batman from an alternate universe could become the canon Batman.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I'm pretty sure that they... Look, at this point, I think that just by having Affleck show up to San Diego Comic-Con, I think they kind of they squash those rumors quite a bit, I think. Why would you have him show up and do the press for the movie and openly say, you know, I'm a part of this universe, I don't want to play anybody but Batman, yada, yada. If you were going to try to replace him. The alternate reality Batman from Flashpoint is Thomas Wayne, Batman's father, so why would you just switch from one older Batman to another older Batman? It's not really solving the problem for yourself.
Well, from what I saw, Affleck never really disproved those rumors that he wasn't going to be portraying Batman based or past what has already been announced film-wise. But I mean, that's all still speculation whether or not these Affleck rumors are true. But I don't know. It's just something that I saw discussed, and I figured it would be a good discussion point for the show. But I don't know. I like you said, would it make sense to bring in an older Batman? Especially
I think the main
because
reason you would move Ben Affleck out and go with a different person playing Batman would be to get younger in the part, so you can grow him within the universe. So if you're going to go from one older actor to, you know, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who's also in his 40s, what is that solving?
Nothing really.
Unless they're calling that movie Flashpoint, but it's going to have nothing to do with Flashpoint, which is going to piss people off more than it's going to help you.
That's true. But
I think if you're going to put it out there that you're doing Flashpoint, you should fucking do Flashpoint. Don't change it up. Don't call it Flashpoint and then do something completely different. Just make the movie much like you made the animated movie. Just do it basically the same way in a live action format. Because if you call it Flashpoint, which is a much loved timeline by the fans of DC Comics.
Yep.
You can't call it that and then do something completely different because it's just going to piss people off.
Yeah, I mean,
because
I wouldn't
be most interested in the Flashpoint movie of all the movies that they announced. Yeah, I like the Flash a lot. That's one of my favorite stories in the DC universe. I would like to see that play out in live action. But if they're going to call it Flashpoint, then, the Flash goes, well, I'm going into the future. I'm going to do this, this, and this. That's not Flashpoint. It's not Flashpoint at all. Beyond the Flashpoint movie, I'd be, second most interested, probably in the Green Lantern movie. But the Justice League trailer seemed to kind of confirm that either Earth has no Green Lantern yet protecting it, or the Green Lanterns are off doing something completely different, and they won't be here to help us. And then Justice League Dark after that. I'm really excited for Justice League Dark.
I'm intrigued by Justice League Dark, but I'll be more, or I'll decide if I'm more or less intrigued by it after we see the first Justice League.
Well, I mean, Justice League Dark is not going to have really anything to do with the Justice League movie, so I don't think you really need to see one to be interested in the other. It's not really going to have any sort of relation.
I mean that more in the fact that I want to see how another, basically a team-up movie does on the DCEU, within the DCEU, because we all know that Suicide Squad was kind of a letdown, and
I think there's a lot that goes into that, though, because, Suicide Squad was a mess because Warner Brothers interfered a lot in the filmmaking process for Suicide Squad. I think that, the Justice League trailer surprised me. I didn't expect it to look that good. But when we really break it down and think about, who's making this movie, who wrote this movie, it's Zack Snyder heavy, it's Joss Whedon heavy. And if you put together what those two guys do very well, which is, Zack Snyder's great at big action sequences and making a spectacle and setting a tone for a movie, making it look a certain way. And what's Joss Whedon great at? Really great at dialogue. He's really great at connective tissue, like putting a story together. Not so great at action scenes and that kind of stuff. I think if you have those two guys working together on this movie, which it seems like they kind of had to work together, due to circumstances that, with Zack Snyder and whatnot, this movie should be very, very good. Should.
I'm not going to hold my breath. I've said it already, and I'll say it again. The last time I got excited about it...
Do you think that's because of the state of their universe, or because you just don't really have a connection to DC Comics characters, though?
No, I think it's more based on the state of the DCEU. Because I got really excited for Suicide Squad, like really excited, and then I saw the movie, and I'm like, Jesus, where the hell did they go wrong? How could they screw this up? So I mean that is what that is. Not to speak too much more on Justice League and the DCEU, but of course,
why wouldn't? That's one of the big things that happened. We should.
Well, no. I want to kind of move on to more of not so much breaking down the Justice League trailer, but hitting on some points from the trailer of the Justice League. You already mentioned that there was mention of the lanterns of Earth either being, non-existent as it is, or off doing something else. And I've seen discussion on multiple sites speculating who it is that Alfred is speaking to at the end of the trailer.
Does that really require any sort of conversation, though? Because I think we can all draw the very logical conclusion that he's talking to Superman.
Well, I've also saw people think that it could be the Green Lantern.
It's not. Because who would be telling Alfred that a Green Lantern's coming when we all know that nobody in this universe knows the Green Lanterns exist at this point?
Well, we don't necessarily know that.
Yes, we do know that, because if anybody knew that, the Green Lanterns existed and they could be there and they could actually combat, Steppenwolf and Darkseid, why would they not call in the Green Lanterns as one of the first people they call in? We very much know that this movie is about Batman, Bruce Wayne, and Diana Prince, Wonder Woman, they're putting together this team to fight the incoming threat. So if either one of them knew that the Green Lanterns existed, why would that not be the first people that they reach out to?
Then doesn't that defeat the whole idea of you saying that the Green Lanterns just could be involved with something else?
Yeah, I mean, well, the Green Lanterns fight galactic threats all over the universe. They just might not even be in the quadrant right now. You know, the sector, the protector of sector, whatever, you know. The Green Lanterns could just be all together somewhere else fighting something bigger. I think there's bigger things happening in the background that they want us to think, at least, that there's bigger things happening in the background that we don't know about yet that'll come to light later. But, you know, if anybody knew that the Green Lanterns existed beyond Steppenwolf, because Steppenwolf very clearly knows that the Green Lanterns exist. Because he says that there's no Lantern. You know, you would think that somebody would reach out to the Lanterns. So I don't think that anybody really knows. I would think that Lex Luthor maybe knows because he did, you know, get all that knowledge from the Kryptonian ship in Batman vs. Superman.
I think
But who else would know?
I mean, I don't disagree with that. It's possible that no one could know.
I think people wanted to build this up as a bigger mystery than it has to be.
That's probably
because
the case.
It's very clearly Superman. Because if we really look at we really think about the trailer for Justice League and think about people that it could be, there's a part in the trailer where it's Cyborg gets into, I think, the Batwing or the Batmobile, and he jacks himself in, and he says, oh, you know, don't worry about it, Alfred. I got this under control. And Alfred says, do I even know who you are? But in this scene at the end of the trailer where this person comes into the room, Alfred doesn't ask who you are. He knows who it is already.
That's a good point.
So if he knows who it is already, he fucking knows who Superman is. Because we've established that in Batman vs. Superman that Alfred is on Superman's side. He tells Bruce the whole movie, you shouldn't be fighting this guy. You know, you guys should be on the same side.
That's a good point. I mean,
I think that people are very much overthinking it by saying, oh, well, it could be Shazam because it looks like a red cape in the corner of the screen, or it could be this, or it could be that. It's fucking Superman.
Like I said, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I am just saying, based on things I've seen on the internet and people speculating things, I figured, why not bring it up and discuss it? One last thing about Justice League that I think is worth noting, at least, is the poster that was revealed during Comic-Con.
Yeah, that was very divisive, wasn't it? At least amongst me.
A lot of people are, like, drooling over it because it obviously reflects the artwork of famed comic book artist Alex Ross. And I think that's probably about the only redeeming quality of the poster, is that it was an attempt to capture some comic book essence for this film.
This is the discussion I had with other people about this, that, you know, it was brought up to me, well, don't you get it? It's based on an Alex Ross drawing. Okay, well, that makes it good? I don't get it. You know, you can try to base something on something that people are going to have a connection with, but that doesn't make it good.
No, I agree with you.
People really
there.
love the Suicide Squad. That movie wasn't very good.
I agree with you.
It doesn't make it good just because inherently it's drawn to something that you really like. It still looked like it was, you know, it looked like somebody took 5 minutes in Photoshop and like clicked out like individual characters and threw them on the poster together and then did, oh, what kind of goofy writing can I use for this poster? Y'all got them wingdings?
It's it's very gimmicky. Like I said, I think the only thing about it that I liked was the attempt to make it feel like an Alex Ross piece and bring some kind of comic book feel to this. But it looks very poorly edited. The use of the logos in the font is really unnecessary.
Because we couldn't make that connection already that we were looking at superheroes, so you need to put their logo in it too.
Exactly. It's also very poorly lit. So it's like you were mentioning off air when we first saw it. Batman doesn't have any eyes.
Yeah, and Momoa kind of looks like he's like rolling his eyes in the back of his head.
Yeah,
it was just really done. I think the logo thing was all about like, oh, you can draw this very logical conclusion that Superman is in this movie.
Yeah, and then Godot.
I think that was the whole reason for it. Was so that you could say Superman is in this movie when you look at the poster. I think
Yeah.
that's the exact reason they did it.
But it looks like it was shot with an iPhone. Godot is not very flattering. The way she's lit is not very flattering. It just it doesn't do it for me, and I don't really see why so many people are just drooling over it the way they are.
Because you don't get it. It's based on Alex Ross. That's literally the only thing people can tell me about why they think it looks good when it looks like fucking Muppet Bohemian Rhapsody.
We'll jump away from DC now. We'll go over to Marvel. We got a new Thor Ragnarok trailer, which was fucking epic. I was very, very happy with what I saw in that trailer and became even more hyped to see this movie after that trailer. And I think you felt the same way, didn't you, Matt?
Yeah, it was a really good trailer. I think that it revealed a lot of stuff that we either suspected or we didn't outright know already, but it revealed a lot more about the story. I think that a lot of what we saw, or at least what we heard of footage that wasn't aired with the trailer, but it was aired for the live audience, basically confirmed exactly what I thought the plot of this movie would be ahead of time. So I felt kind of validated by that.
Of course you do.
It didn't hurt my enjoyment of this movie at all. Like I'm going to enjoy this movie a lot. It was cut really well. It just felt good. Showed a lot more of the villain, which I think I needed to see. Even though I really like Gila as a character, but showing me more makes me feel better about it.
Yeah.
I think all around it was a home run for them.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by
especially with a property that needed to have a slam dunk solo movie, at least one, because a lot of people didn't like Thor 1. I liked it. A lot of people didn't like The Dark World. I didn't like The Dark World.
I agree with
you.
you.
Needed a slam dunk solo movie, and I think this is it. So even if it's the last solo movie that we get for Thor, it should be a good one.
Well, because we all know Thor's going to die, and then Infinity War, they're going to trek out to revive him to be in Infinity Thor.
Infinity Thor.
But I was really surprised with the fact that the Hulk actually has a speaking part.
Mark Ruffalo later said in an interview after the panel that he's been stuck in Hulk mode for I guess 2 years at this point. So he has the vocabulary a toddler would have. He can say a couple words here and there together, put them into a basic sentence. That's what the Hulk has. But because he's been in Hulk form long enough, he's growing as the Hulk like he would as Banner.
That also explains why in the trailer they Mark Ruffalo as Banner and Hemsworth as Thor having a discussion, and Thor has to remind Banner that they fought, and Banner has no recollection of it. So I would assume that when that fight happens, that Hulk has been Hulk for a while. But
that's what it says, that he's been the Hulk for 2 years, and he will not allow himself to transform back into Banner.
Well, I really enjoyed the back and forth banner between Banner and Thor. I felt like the two of them just have this great chemistry, at least from what we've seen.
One thing that I really liked about this trailer too is that it shows that Marvel finally understands that they've undervalued Chris Hemsworth in their universe completely.
Oh yeah,
I think they saw him as just an action star, and that's all they saw him as. Whereas we as viewers see Hemsworth in other roles, and we know that the guy can act. He's really funny. He can do a variety of different things. And I think Marvel finally was like, "Wait a second, this guy can act too? We'll give him some different things to do now." And I think that kind of speaks more to the fact that we overblow Marvel as a production house, that we feel like they can never miss the mark on anything, but they absolutely have missed the mark on Chris Hemsworth to this point.
I think Hemsworth has grown a lot as an actor since he first portrayed Thor as well. He's done a lot of things outside of being Thor since he first started. When I believe Thor was his first major role, was it not?
He was in the original Star Trek movie too, as Kirk's father.
Okay.
Those were his first two major roles in a film.
So I mean, he's done a lot of growing as an actor since he first portrayed Thor. I don't know that this is something that if this was the first movie proposed to him back when he did the first Thor, that it would be as good as this is looking as it's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think that, my point was more that I think Marvel has just been very slow to notice what everybody else has. But the guy, there's more to him than just being an action star.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think they've slowly been realizing that since probably the last Avengers film, because he did have a little bit more humor and a little bit more acting other than just being, Thor as he was as known before that movie. But I definitely look forward to his performance in Ragnarok, and I think it's going to be a
I think
standout
that's
performance.
important to them too. I think because if they're going to be able to convince any of their original major stars to come back, I think he's the one guy you're going to be able to convince to keep coming back. He seems to really enjoy playing the character and then doing the other things he gets to do when he's not playing the character. I think he's the guy you're going to be able to convince to come back if you want to keep using him for a long period of time. So to give him more challenging things to do within your universe is only going to help that end. Make him feel like it's more investment than just being guy who talks with an accent. I think there's just more to it that they can do with him.
Yeah, and the other roles in this film, of course, we're getting Loki coming back, which will probably be the last appearance we get of Loki in the MCU. Looking really forward to seeing Loki back on the screen, a character that I've been in love with since we first saw him in Thor. I'm going to be excited to see Jeff Goldblum in the MCU. I don't necessarily know how I feel about the character that he's playing, but it's going to be interesting to see him in that universe. And I don't know what else I can say to say that I'm excited to see this movie.
I think there's going to be enough big action set pieces in this balanced out with character development. I think that this movie very heavily is going to be the lead-in movie for Infinity War. So I think whatever happens at the end of this movie or what happens in this movie is going to influence the beginning of the big Avengers set piece. It just very much feels that way, with the galactic scale of what it is, and the arguably the two most powerful Avengers are in this movie, with the Hulk and Thor. So I think whatever happens in this movie is going to have a big influence on the beginning of that movie. Do we find out how Hulk got on Sakaar in this movie? Is it Loki? Was it Thanos that put him there? Is Thanos going to make an appearance in this movie? I would argue that I think it's very possible that Thanos makes an appearance in this movie towards the end. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of question marks still for the movie, which is exciting, but I also think that we saw enough to know kind of, okay, this is going to be legit.
Yeah. Keeping with the Marvel news, though, we got our first real glimpse at the Captain Marvel movie, and some information on what we can expect from that movie. I think the first thing worth noting is we finally got to see concept art, which we got.
That's all we got to see.
Yeah, that's all we've actually got to see was concept art. Which we got the costume. We got our first look at the costume. I mean, it is what I expected it to be. It's basically
it's a classic uniform. I don't think that we were expecting anything different.
Of course, it's got a few more studs and buckles on it than we're accustomed to, but it's basically
because like how when they made the first Captain America, costume for the first movie, where the stripes in the costume were really buckles.
Yep. I'm glad to see that the costume is not much changed from the comic book page. Another thing that the concept art revealed is that we're gonna have Skrulls in this movie, and And I believe, I don't know if it was within the press, or not the press release, the panel, if it was announced, but somewhere over Saturday and Sunday, it was announced that basically the storyline of this film is going to be the Kree Skrull War, which
that seems to be what came out of the panel, was that's they're the villains for the movie, but the Skrull Kree War is happening within the movie,
which is I'm excited for that. I never thought we'd see the
considered the other big reveal was that the movie's happening in the 90s. That's when it takes place. So this is essentially a flashback movie to what happened, previous to everything that we've seen so far. So, this has happened a long time in the past. So, when we first see, the Kree, when we see Ronan the Accuser, this has already happened. This isn't something new. Almost makes me feel like they bring in Lee Pace to play a part in the movie.
I didn't really hear what you just said. What was that?
It almost makes me feel like they should bring in Lee Pace to play a part in the movie, since he would have existed at that time. They could actually play Ronan again.
I wouldn't put it past them to do that, honestly.
Well, I mean, up to the most recent point we've gotten to, where Spider-Man had the Vulture, we haven't really gotten great Marvel villains except for like Ronan. Lee Pace really knocked the role out of the park. Why not try to bring him back if you can?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be against it. It'll be interesting to see how this movie plays in with the timeline, though, because obviously they've also mentioned that Nick Fury is going to be a major part of this movie, and he will have both eyes. Count them, left and right.
Yeah, and I think that my first comment to you was, if Nick Fury knows that Captain Marvel exists, why did he not call in Captain Marvel to come help the Avengers when they were trying to fight Loki taking over, the Earth? Or when they were trying to keep Ultron from destroying everything and making it all fucking Ultrons? If he knew that Captain Marvel existed and was so powerful, why didn't he call her in? So I feel like that's something that this movie has to establish, why that couldn't happen.
Yeah, I saw something else mentioned about a line he delivered in the original Iron Man film, where he mentions to Tony that he's becoming part of a bigger universe, is that he probably knew about one or two or a few other superpowered beings before he approached Tony.
I kind of just assumed he meant by that the Hulk is out there and Captain America is somewhere frozen in ice, that kind of thing. I don't think that he was really talking about Captain Marvel, but we know that Marvel's not above retconning things, because they put Peter Parker into fucking Iron Man 2 when it was never supposed to be Peter Parker.
Yep, they did do that. But I think it could also turn out being a thing where, come the end of this film, this Captain Marvel film, that she could probably be lost in space somewhere. She could be probably, she could have went AWOL, kind of like Cap did. It could be one of those things. So it may not necessarily be that he, just didn't call on Captain Marvel to this point. It could be he didn't know how to. So
you take that back. Captain America did not go AWOL. For the purpose of his country, he didn't go AWOL.
That's true. Anyway.
Piece of shit.
Yeah, it's also interesting to note that, like we said, the Skrulls are going to be there. For the first time ever, we're going to see the Skrulls in the MCU. Of course, the Chitauri, which were basically a bastardized version of the Skrulls from Avengers. But I believe Feige was asked why we haven't seen the Skrulls otherwise, and he made some smart-ass remark about how Captain Marvel probably kicked their asses so hard that they didn't want to come back. But
he said that knowing that the movie takes place before everything else. The fucking asshole.
Well, I mean, that would make sense. I mean, if that's what happens in the film, she makes the Skrulls not want to come back.
We know why the Skrulls haven't appeared. And he just doesn't want to say that because Marvel and Fox share the Skrulls. So you don't want to, put the Skrulls in your movie before Fox does, and then Fox can use them and capitalize on it.
Well, obviously.
He thinks we're all stupid. But we're not stupid. So I hate that cocky son of a bitch.
But anyway, I'm super excited for Captain Marvel. It's probably my most anticipated MCU film to come. Would. It's a character I've always cared for. So
I mean, look, like after the failure of Spider-Man, you need something else to latch on to.
I'm not calling Spider-Man a failure.
Well, I mean, we only have to look at the box office. It's fallen off extremely quickly, like much That's more true. Quickly than any other Marvel movie. And as we know, the movie just wasn't that good. It's not bad, but it's not good.
Anyway, moving on. I don't think there's anything else within Captain Marvel's reveal that they gave us at Comic-Con that we missed.
Not really.
I guess the last little bit, then we'll get to some comic book news. The first thing I got here is...
We're not going to talk about the Infinity Wars footage?
Did we really get anything different than we got at D23?
No, but did we talk about that? I don't remember if we did.
I thought we did. I mean, we can discuss it now if you want to. That's fine with me.
I don't know how we could have talked about it because we didn't see it at that point, but now we've both seen it.
Well, I mean, yeah, now that we've both technically seen it, we did discuss the description of it. But now that we've both seen it, I guess we can talk about it a little bit more. Do you wanna give me your thoughts on what you saw?
I didn't hate it. I don't have a lot of deep thoughts. I just thought it was worth talking about. I mean, look, like we don't get a lot out of it. We don't really know anything. Like,
and we can't see like great details. We don't get great details because we did see it filmed off a screen on a cell phone that was trying to be hidden while the person was recording it. So, I mean, it's not like we can really see much.
I think that the big establishing point for that footage is, the first thing they show you, which is the Guardians of the Galaxy flying into, some sort of war zone. And, they pick up Thor. And Thor doesn't know who they are, so we know that the Avengers haven't encountered any of them to this point. Not even Thor. So the cosmic level Avengers, at least, haven't encountered the Guardians of the Galaxy at all. And by this point, it's been 3 years, in movie time, it's been 3 years since we've last seen the Guardians. Because Guardians 2 happens, 6 months after Guardians 1 in 2014.
Yep.
So at this point, it's been years since, we've seen the Guardians, and the Guardians still haven't encountered anybody from the main Marvel universe because Thor has no fucking clue who they are. But they pick up Thor in the middle of nowhere, so that's what I kind of feel like that footage kind of leads me more into the realm of thinking that Thor directly leads into Infinity War. Black Panther is very much going to be a standalone movie establishing that character so that you know who he is before the movie. But I think Thor is the direct lead-in to the movie. Now, how does Thor end up space and in the middle of a war zone? That's why I think maybe we see Thanos or some agent of Thanos in this movie.
I don't know. I think that could also be a situation where it basically becomes a prison break kind of situation in Ragnarok where...
I don't know, because we know that Thor gets back to Asgard before the end of the movie, because we see Thor and the Hulk and Loki and Valkyrie fighting back against Hela. So we can very easily assume that that's towards the end of the movie, because they would have had to been on Sakaar to pick up the other characters.
Well, we all know Thor is also dead.
So to pick off of Sakaar before he even gets to Asgard.
We also know Thor is dead, so...
Well, the Infinity Thor, yeah. Maybe that's who they're picking up, Infinity Thor. I feel like it's a direct lead-in, though. I feel like, where Thor ends, that's where that scene picks up.
I mean, I don't know why else
I was shocked with how successful Guardians are as, arguably the most successful Marvel property. I wouldn't be shocked if that's how they lead off Infinity War. You see the Guardians first.
Oh, I wouldn't put it past them at all. I also don't think would be that footage of Thor crashing into the Milano would be the opening shot of that footage that they show if that wasn't...
I would be shocked if that's the opening of the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the question again is, how does he get there? Is it Loki that puts him there, or does Asgard actually get destroyed during the movie? And that's the wreckage of Asgard that they're flying into. We don't know these things yet, but I think that it's interesting at least to speculate.
I do believe that from the description of the footage that I saw, the part where we see Gamora is the Collector's vault. So I believe his vault has been destroyed, and that's where we see her. But I don't know if that's one right after the next. Of course, we do know.
The Collector has one of the stones.
Well, the Collector also has ties to Ragnarok because the Grand Master is his brother, correct?
Right, yeah.
So, I mean...
And if Heimdall really has the last stone, if he has the soul gem, would it not make sense for that to happen in this movie? And that kind of launches... That's the launching off point for Infinity War, is this film.
I mean, it makes sense that it's a direct lead, and it really does. So, I mean, I'm not arguing that at all. But you did mention that we saw Bearded Cap as well, who we have heard rumors that he's going to be playing Nomad in this film rather than Captain America.
The Man with No Country.
Yep, the Man with No Country. And I like Bearded Cap. He looks a lot like Solid Snake in the poster.
Yes, I've seen the meme as well, Steven. Yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting segment of this too, that Cap's been kind of off the grid to the point where to lay low, he's grown a beard so that nobody recognizes him, and Black Widow has to lay low, so she's dyed her hair blonde. And then Iron Man's like, holy shit, like I do need these people, so I have to call them in now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be nice
but that
to
is
see.
All we see Cap in this trailer. We don't actually see him side by side with Iron Man like we do like Star-Lord and Doctor Strange, where we see them side by side with Iron Man.
That's true. We don't see Cap pretty much doing anything other than walking out of a shadow.
I almost feel like maybe his role is not small for this film, but it's not a leading role necessarily.
I don't know. He was kind of front and center on that one poster.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think they have to because he's arguably the number one Avenger, so he has to be front and center.
He's the first Avenger, goddammit.
I also mean he's the number one. Like, he's fucking better than Spider-Man and Iron Man. Like, fuck off.
Watch your mouth. Language.
I can't help it.
All right. But yeah, I'm hoping that with the leaked trailer that they eventually decide to just throw it up on the internet.
Well, maybe this was like last summer at Comic-Con where everybody leaked the Justice League footage and DC was like, oh, I guess we have to release that now.
So I'm hoping we can get a better look at that footage and come back at it and attack it with more detail.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you got in comic rags?
Just a few little things here. It was announced that Frank Miller is gonna come back and give our old boy Superman another origin with Superman Year One.
I think that's really interesting because all these fucking pissy, whiny crybabies that bitched about Man of Steel and how it was a darker Superman. You have Frank Miller writing Superman Year One. It's gonna be a darker Superman. So are you going to turn on Frank Miller, too, like you did turn on the movie?
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see what the fanboys do.
Because I can't see Frank Miller doing a hopeful Superman. I just can't see it. That's not really his wheelhouse.
Nope.
You call in Frank Miller because you want a character to be darker and have some mystery to them and, play on different tones than what Superman typically would.
Yeah. I also got here that pretty much since Marvel's not producing Fantastic Four comics anymore, DC basically decided to make their own Fantastic Four, and they're calling it the Terrifics. It's going to be...
Yeah, I think we personally talked about this like a week or two ago.
Well, we talked about it a couple days ago, but...
Yeah.
It's going to be helmed by Jeff Lemire and Ivan Rice. Or I believe that's how you pronounce that name. And it's going to feature Plastic Man, Phantom Girl, Metamorpho, and the team leader of, get this, Mr. Terrific. So it's basically the Fantastic Four as DC characters, and
I love that Plastic Man's going to be in it. That's pretty
right.
hype.
This is a little ballsy, I would say, from DC, but
I don't know. I think it's kind of very slap in the facey. Like, you guys can't get your shit together to get one of your longest lasting and one of your most fans loved the Fantastic Four. Until they start really messing with the brand, and now they don't even want to produce those comics anymore at all. It's kind of a slap in the face to be like, oh, well, you guys can't get your shit together. Everybody loves what we're doing right now, so we're going to put out our own fucking Fantastic Four.
We're going to take the first family of Marvel.
DC's getting so ballsy about how successful they've been in comics, and they're like, okay, we're going to take something that you used to do, and you couldn't do it right, and we're just going to do it our way now.
Yeah, I'm really excited to read this. It's written by Jeff Lemire, like I said, who's one of my favorite writers in comics right now, and it hits all the right buttons for me, and especially if it's going to be done in the style of probably a little bit more humoristic based on the character choices, and just the fact that it's basically a parody book in and of itself. I really, really am looking forward to it. To kind of round out the comic news, I just want to hit on a couple winners of the Eisner Awards this year, which, for those of you who don't know, the Eisners are basically the awards of comics. So for Best New Series, it was won by Black Hammer, which is a Jeff Lemire book. What else we got here? Best Writer, Brian K. Vaughan, who of course writes Paper Girls and Saga. Best Penciler / Inker, individual or team, Fiona Staples, who of course does Saga along with a few other books. Best Coloring went to Matt Wilson, who does things like Paper Girls, The Wicked and the Divine, did Black Widow, The Mighty Thor, Star-Lord. What else do we have here? I'm trying to look for Best Overall Series. I don't know that that's on this list. But yeah, we're gonna put the entire list in the show notes, so you can go take a look at that, see if your favorite comic won any awards or if your favorite creator won any awards this year. But yeah, I guess that's gonna wrap up all of the San Diego Comic-Con discussion. Before we completely close it out, though, Matt, what was your favorite thing to come out of Comic-Con this year?
I don't know that I really had a favorite. I think this was a very down Comic-Con year, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would probably say the same.
Big came out of it. I mean, I'm very excited for. Honestly, I'm very excited for the DC stuff. As much as I'm questioning a lot of it, I do like they seemingly have some sort of plan at this point. Now, whether the plan goes the way that they anticipate it does, I don't know. Maybe 50-50 that it's going to go the way they think it does. But I am excited they seemingly have a plan for once, which, it seems like a lot of the things they've done up until now, they've just kind of been winging it.
Yeah. I would say my favorite thing to come out of Comic-Con would probably be the Captain Marvel stuff, just because it's the only thing that really got me genuinely excited. I mean, getting to see the Infinity War footage as well, even though it wasn't the best way to see it. Hey, Marvel, release that shit. But getting to see some of that was cool as well. But it did really feel like a down year for Comic-Con this year, and I don't think there's a lot to take away from it that's like jaw-dropping announcements or reveals or anything like that. So,
yeah, really.
So yeah, that's going to do it for another episode of the Deep Six Podcast. Of course, if you haven't already, click the subscribe button because it costs you absolutely nothing, zilch, zero, nada, Just click subscribe. A second of your time is all it takes. Also, be sure to visit us over on deep6podcast.com, where you can find links to our Facebook page, our Twitter page, our Instagram feed, and pretty much everything else that the Deep Six Podcast is on. You can find it right over there. And yeah, I guess we're going to do this whole thing again next week. Matt, why don't you remind them where they can find you on Twitter and Instagram?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at the Matt Barnes. I'm on Instagram at the Matthew Barnes.
And of course, you can find me, if you want to, over on Twitter and Instagram at Steven_Spivak. And yeah, if you feel so inclined to as well, you can share this show with your friends, your dog, your cat, your mailman.
Not if they feel
grandmother.
inclined. You fucking have to. It's your homework. Please
Yeah.
do it for once. I know you're out there.
But yeah, until next time, that's been the Deep Six Podcast. We'll see you later.